Hey Axis and Allies players, the good captain here. Welcome to a review of round 2 in this game of Axis and Allies Classic, played against Ragnell 804. I'm just going to quickly grind out this round and discuss a couple things. So we have a few different battles to fight here. The first is in Anglo-Egypt Sudan, where the Germans load up 2 infantry and move into Egypt. So I've already run the battle calc out. It's 89.5% in favor of Germany. So we're just going to go with units left if attacker won. And we have 1.64. So at the end of the battle, the Germans did lose a piece, so the Germans are at minus 0.64. So we'll go to Ukraine, SSR. And here we have a 7.29, and at the end of it, they ended up with 7. So this is minus 0.29 for the German player. And finally, you have a battle out here in the Red Sea. This is a little fraught for me, as Germany, you'll soon see, you have to go with average attacker units left, since the winner and the units left if defender won and blah 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 it's always going to be 1, so it's not helpful. So average attacker units left is 0.77, and notice the attacker only wins 77% of the time. That's really dicey for me. Draw would be a loss in my book, trading a German bomber for British transport, but as it is, it all works out fine. So we go with, we'll call it a plus 0.23 for Germany. Okay, and so the net is a nice and even negative 0.7. So when we go back to this, we're now down to a fairly modest plus 3.63. But the game has more to go. Let's see. We flip over to the British turn, and I coordinate the RAF. So this fighter comes out of Karelia, and this fighter and bomber come out of Italian East Africa. I'm assuming a loss here, right? Because the fighter out of Karelia would have to land in Syria, Jordan, which is not a good place for it to be. But assuming we lose at least 1 piece, of course that will be the piece. So it's also acting as a soak, since it's very likely we're going to lose 1, as you will see. So here we are. I'll just run it out. Actually, this is pretty narrow too, 76.5%. That's pretty weak T. It's because of the presence of that submarine. Actually, let's see what happens if we reorder the order of loss correctly. Yeah, it drops a little further, 75, boy. But this is, I need to catch some dice here still. We're still quite down. Units left if attacker won, 1.73. And so we end up with plus 0.256 at plus 0.27 allies. So that's mine. I'll just keep minusing it though. We'll convert it to a minus 0.27 Germany. So far we're very slowly gaining it back here. Very slowly. So let's update our scorecard before moving to Japan. We're now at an Axis plus 3.36. The Japanese have 3 battles to fight. So this was an experimental move I made as the Americans to draw in this Japanese battleship. I thought maybe exchanging the extra, I brought an extra transport down, which I've never done before, just to try something different. To draw in an extra Japanese piece or 2, or I don't know. Just wanted to try something different and mess it up. So, order of loss for the Japanese, obviously sub-fighter battleship. And this one's correct. So let me refire that just to make sure it's right. So the Japanese have 2.59 remaining with a good healthy attacker wins percentage. So 2.59. And what did we end up with? 3. So they're up plus 0.41. Obviously, I was really hoping for that extra hit on whatever Japanese units were there, but there's more to do. So Hawaii, here we have an offshore and 2 infantry. So let's rig it up. Average attacker units left 1.64. And, oh, wow. I didn't even notice this. Okay, so that's minus. Okay, hang on. Here, of course, it's minus. It's going to be minus 1.64 for the Japanese. But because the defenders survived, right, it wasn't even mutual destruction. The defender actually survived. So we have to go with average defender units left for the Americans plus 0.91, right? Does that make sense? So to account for this piece surviving, I mean, this is catastrophic. This is where you have the attacker should have won, right, at 89%. This is an upset. So not only do the Japanese have this units left if attacker won. Actually, sorry, because they didn't win, you can't use this. You have to use average attacker units left at minus 1.46 for the Axis, and you have to invert the Allied defender number as a negative as well. So the Allies normally would have plus 0.91, but because we're measuring it off the Axis, it's minus 0.91. So this actually is a catastrophe. So it's a net of negative 1.46 and negative 0.91. So let's add that in. Okay, so that's how you handle an upset. That's how I handle an upset. And then we have this battle up here in Yakut SSR. I'm just going to look to see. Yeah, so they did win. Just so I don't have to put the aerial retreat on. We'll just leave that off and run it out. So units left if attacker won. It's probably going to be, yeah, 98. So this is a solid win. Units left if attacker won, 3.62. 1, 2, 3.62. So this is another plus for the Japanese, plus 0.38. Okay, so when we wash it all out, let's now go to this. I'll just do the math live here, and it's plus 0.38, plus 0.41, and then the minuses, minus 1.46, minus 0.91, and now it's an Axis number of negative 1.58, but they still have plus 3.36, so plus 3.36. So actually, this is coming closer to balanced, shockingly. So 1.78 Axis. Wow. Wow. I didn't, just doing this for the first time. Okay, so then I do the counterattack. This was sort of what the plan was, so I just executed the plan. I want to pick up this Japanese battleship. That was why I sacrificed that transport, that extra transport, and this transport coming in now is likely to be killed. So let's run this stat. And then I'll answer a question that Super Battleship Yamato asked me on the YouTube. Units left if attacker won, 2.22. And we're minus 0.22. So that's a plus 0.22 for the Axis, right? Because we're translating it into an Axis number. So that picks them back up a little bit. And then round 3 combat for Russia. And we go to Yakut, and this is a high-risk attack. I don't think I probably wouldn't have done this if I'd known the... Actually, we need to see what the result was before I compute this. Okay, it was mutual destruction. So we did technically win. So units left if attacker won. Yeah, it's a good 90%. So this is just like any other battle. It'll be minus 0.59, which translates into a plus 0.59 for the Axis. And then the other one in Ukraine. Let's see what the end was. Yeah, we end up taking this territory, but it looks like with pretty high casualties. So let's see what we get. Units left if attacker won is 2.86. So that's going to be minus 0.86 or plus 0.86 for the Axis. Yeah, so they're in fine shape again. They're in fine shape. Oh, and actually we have a German turn completed here, and then it's Britain's turn. But let's go ahead and update. So we have 1.78, and then the US player goes plus 0.22 for the Axis. A nice and even 2, plus 2. But then it keeps getting better for the Axis, plus 0.86 for one of those Russian battles, and then plus 0.59 for the other one. So 3.45. That's too bad. We were getting somewhere. Maybe it'll swing back. We'll see. It doesn't look near as bad as it did on that first turn. This is really sad. Strategic bombing raid. AA guns miss, so that's a plus 0.17 for the Axis. And this is where, okay, so the strategic bombing raid is a 6, which is, again, great for the Axis. Best roll you can get on an SBR. And I just mark this off to the side. I always mark SBRs separately, like with the rolls. The successful roll, when they get through the AA gun, the only way to really track that is to just, make it separate column. So I'll show you in a second. And then they retake Ukraine for no loss. So again, driving up the numbers for the Axis. We're going to climb that. So there's just a dip. Just a quick dip there. Units left if attacker won, 4.63. So the Axis is plus 0.37. So we have 0.37 plus 3.45. And then don't forget the AA gun plus 0.17. So we're back up to 3.99. So they're basically plus 4. So yeah, we're still in the doghouse. Although the later in the game it gets, not too bad. I've seen worse, much worse actually. So, okay. I gotta close up this video. I'll do this turn off screen. I don't want to describe the process and the way in which I take my turns, at least not on this video series. So, I do want to respond to, this is Super Battleship Yamato. A channel that does nothing on the forums, but Super Battleship Yamato or a channel that does nothing on YouTube is Super Battleship Yamato on the forums. And he asks a good question: how do you weight the IPC values of certain units? And I get it. I appreciate this question, but I gotta kind of craft this argument better. I don't think it really matters, is what the ending argument is going to be. In most games that I play, at least, there's not a lot of naval battles because they're so expensive. In my experience, better players aren't hucking ships around and losing them in sloppy fights. But yeah, you'll lose the odd transport like you just saw, but these are all very early game actions. There might be an exception here in that the Japanese did lose a battleship, but I had to give up 2 transports as the Americans for that. I don't know what the weighted outcome of that is, but the rest of this stuff is pretty much set in stone. The Allies are going to have the Atlantic, the Japanese are going to have the Pacific. And so by that metric, it's only interesting, what the under-over is, in my experience. This is another example of this is 1914. I don't even count those battles into the statistics anymore. The Central Powers are going to get cooked. It's just how much of a tax the Entente has to pay to get rid of them. So I don't even, compute those anymore. So otherwise you just have land units and air units, and at a certain point, this I'll have to say on the channel when I do my main video, but all of this stuff is what I call ish, I-S-H. It's statistics that track the dice, not to a perfect degree, but they get into the ballpark. They're goodish. These are goodish statistics. And so with that, I'm going to craft my UTK turn and hopefully have another video out that covers the remainder of this game in the next few days. I don't know if I'll just do a video per round or just wait to the end to do a recap, but yeah, this is how I track the dice. And before going into Britain turn 3, we're at +4 Axis, which is pretty good for the Axis, but not the grand slam that this thing started out with. So we might be able to make an interesting game of it. At any rate, thanks for watching this. All the best from the good captain, and bye-bye.